Hey guys, what's up and welcome to a new Tesla update video. So today, closing off the week, let's go over Tesla, let's go over the market, let's figure out what has happened this week and what we can expect moving into, of course, next week. So all that being said and done, guys, as usual, guys and girls, if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to hit that like button. It does help a lot. And of course, this is not financial advice. I am not a financial advisor. Make your own decisions, do your own research on the market. It is closing in just about 20 minutes, but I'm recording this one now, mainly because I can't imagine anything too crazy happening in these last 20 minutes, especially on a Friday. So it's most likely going to be closing somewhere around this 190 level, which is going to be Tesla moving down about 1%, we'll say, just over 1%, give or take, right? So compared to the market, definitely a bit of an underperformance, but, nothing like substantially crazy, definitely an underperformance, however, that we can't just, ignore, really. But again, nothing concerning, I would say, right? It kind of is what it is, really. So, I mean, you don't need me to spell it out for you too much, right? Because as I'm sure you can see, this blue line right here, which again, I haven't moved since what, yesterday or 2 days ago, I don't know, like whatever amount of days ago it has been now since I put it here. Has been not moved at all. And you can see we came down right to it finally. We did talk about how I do expect it to come down to this level. And there's a pretty decent chance that we do get a bounce from here. This is an extremely crucial spot to be in though, however, because we are, Tesla is essentially on thin ice when it's trading like this, right? You can see it did bounce here. It did bounce pretty much here. And we're pretty much at this level again. So, very, very, very crucial spot right here to see what happens, right? Does it actually find the bounce and find the strength that it's so far showing like it wants to and actually make its way up? So at the very least 200 again, which if it can't break, that gets pretty damn bad. And then I think from here for sure it'll crash. Does it maybe break 200? And then that opens up the pathway all the way up here to like about 210, maybe even as high as 215. And then we crash, or do we just crash from here? That's kind of the way I'm looking at it right now. Now, as you can see, regardless of the path, right? Path 1, 2, or 3, regardless of the path that it takes, essentially, you can see the end result I personally view. Again, just my opinion, could be wrong, but I personally view the end result to pretty much be very similar in the sense that, well, ultimately we will break down to the south side from this channel, regardless if it's here, here, or here, and make our way down. It's just a matter of, well, the very short term, what does it have in store for us, and do we have, I guess, power or strength to make that one more, leg up before the, real pain, if you will, begins, right? So that's kind of the main thing I'm looking at, right? And that's kind of what I'm trying to really figure out right now. So we're going to quickly talk a little bit more about that, and then we'll talk about the medium term as to where I think it'll fall. I'll kind of revisit that one more time, and then I'll talk about one final thing that is potentially a bullish, well, not potentially, oh yeah, potentially a bullish sign as well for Tesla. So we'll talk about all three things, starting off with the short term, trying to figure out, do we crash here from here, or do we actually get the bounce, right? So again, very crucial spot. We pretty much want to be holding this like 188-ish level, extremely important. 188, 187, right? Very, very important. But again, as the days move forward, that level, that threshold, or whatever you want to call it, does also increase with the days, right? So for instance, starting Monday, it's arguably going to be like extremely high 180s to pretty much 190 that you want to start holding, and so on and so forth. And that will continue increasing until we finally get a true bounce or we finally collapse underneath, right? So again, keep in mind though, if you collapse underneath, there is a chance that it goes something like this, retests, and then continues its way down, right? So you want to take that into consideration as well. So you want to take all these things into consideration. It's really, really important. On top of that, taking a look at the 1 hour chart on the RSI, of course. Sorry, my girlfriend was leaving. You want to look at the RSI, right? And you can see the RSI, it's kind of just following the stock right now, right? The RSI is not really showing us any signs on the 1 hour chart, so there's really not much to say there. 15-minute, you can see it is looking, I mean, maybe a little bit better, nothing too completely wild, but, you can argue it's looking like it's making a little bit of a bullish divergence, as you can see, as the stock continued going lower, right? This right here, this lowest point right here was actually higher than this low point right here. So, a little bit of a bullish divergence setting up. I don't really like them too much on a 15-minute chart and low. I don't like them under 1 hour. I personally don't look at RSI divergences that much under the 1 hour chart because it's just too short term. I personally don't care for it, but if you're someone that's day trading, maybe it's a little bit of a different story. I'm more of a swing trader than a day trader, so I personally don't care too much about it. But taking a look at the actually do 3 hour chart. It's kind of like in the middle between the 1 hour and the daily chart, right? On the 3 hour chart, again, nothing absolutely wild here as well. We can't really do too much in terms of, or we can't really figure out too much here in terms of, what it actually means, where, it actually is going to go here, because the RSI is also kind of just following the stock as well, as it's making lower lows, so is the RSI, and it's really not giving us too much information here just yet. So that's why it's a little bit difficult to really determine how it's going to look. You know what I mean? The daily candlestick doesn't look that bad. It's looking like, the bulls are definitely stepping in where it absolutely counts, which is again this level right here that we talked about at the bottom of this channel. So that's good to see. And the candle, if it closes somewhere around this general level, is a pretty okay bullish looking candle. Again, it's a red candle, and it does have a little long wick at the top, still longer than I'd like to see, but it's definitely a little bit more bullish than bearish, but like it's just ever so slightly, maybe like 55 45 kind of thing. So again, not too much weight I'm putting on this as well. So in other words, the short term is extremely confusing right now. It's really difficult to determine if we'll get the bounce here or not. So this is to me one of those situations where you really just wait for actual confirmation instead of trying to predict, and you just wait. If you're someone that's trading or looking to trade or looking for the direction to really show itself, you just wait. You pretty much just have to wait this limbo out and see, does it finally come down like this and start having candles closing underneath these levels over here? Okay, that's most likely a sign that we're going to collapse. Or does it continue holding and finally make its way back above, let's say for instance maybe around this kind of 191-ish level or so, right? Then most likely we're going back to 200, and then you want to wait for 200 and see what happens here. Do we just reject and make our way down, or do we actually break 200 once again, or not once again, but well, I guess once again we did before, and then make our way to the top side? That you kind of want to see which what happens, right? That's kind of waiting for confirmation to actually potentially enter a trade or something of the sort. So very important stuff. But again, there's definitely a possibility we essentially make a double top like this as well. That's also a possibility, and that will be pretty bearish. Or we ultimately, like I said, way before, if we go to, let's say, the 4-hour chart, we essentially follow this pattern that we had up here, where we had essentially a massive triple top, where we can essentially have that here, where we have like a top here, we have a top here, we come up here and pretty much the same area and have a top there again, and and it's a pretty massive triple top essentially in this general area as well. So you want to take all those things into consideration. So if we do come up all the way to the 210s to 215s, that'll essentially just be most likely a bearish pattern. Now, speaking of kind of medium-term-ish movement, right? Where does it fall to? Like if we do fall, which I do think we will, somewhat soon, whether it's maybe Monday, whether it's potentially a little bit later into next week or something of the sort, because you might have that rally still, or whatever. Where do we ultimately fall, regardless of where we actually go from here? Where do we ultimately fall, right? Well, again, that's still taking the swing low to the swing high, because that's still these two levels right here, and then that to me again determines that we will most likely come down to probably around 160, I think, if not all the way down to probably 145, let's just say, to gap fill, right? This to me right here, assuming the bullish, the bullish reversal, which again, because we broke 200, assume the bullish reversal is intact and we are setting a higher low, which we technically already did. Sorry, a higher high, which we technically already did, and then potentially a higher low, which would essentially be, somewhere around this general vicinity right here, and we do get a bounce that would be, solidifying a higher low. That to me is pretty much confirming that Tesla seemingly has retaken its bullish momentum, if you will, for the medium term. So that's gonna be really good to see, but I do want to see it, if come down to this level and specifically hold around this level of, 160 to 140, let's just say. That overall zone, I do want to see a lot of demand, right? So that's kind of the medium term as to where I think it'll fall, and I personally do think it'll fall there. I'm pretty confident, not 100%, but pretty confident. Now, the final thing for kind of like I guess a medium to potentially longer-ish term I want to talk about is the fact that on the daily, weekly, whatever you want us to call it, doesn't really matter too much, right? We are arguably setting up an inverted head and shoulders, which of course is a bullish pattern, right? So you can see over here. Now, a lot of people are eyeballing this, which, sometimes when things are this obvious, it makes you a little suspicious, you know what I mean? But, we are essentially making a fairly textbook inverted head and shoulders, in all honesty. It's you come down after a downtrend, you make this little pattern, and it's essentially, it's a pretty common pattern. It's a pattern I personally do like myself quite a bit. I put, a good amount of weight into this kind of pattern, but, sometimes when it's just so damn obvious and everyone and their mother sees it, that's where I kind of, start also kind of wondering, well, is it just too obvious? Is it just way too obvious that like everyone is talking about it? And since when does the market do what everyone thinks it's going to do? It's, pretty uncommon. So, you never really know, right? You have to always take these things with a bit of a grain of salt, but, assuming this pattern holds, that you also want to determine how do you want to look at the neckline. I've seen people do neckline like this. I've seen people do a neckline, something like this. You know what I mean? Like, how does the neckline look? Which is the neckline in terms of, what level they have to break to trigger this pattern? That's the question as well. I don't know. It's one of these two, but, overall, essentially going up above 210 215, let's just say, going above 215, I would argue, you know, is most likely triggering this breakout of this inverted head and shoulders, which would be quite bullish. So, you know, if we do actually get a bounce from here and make our way up back to about 210, 215, extremely crucial level, because if it gets rejected up here, that is extremely bearish. And I think we're going to get a pretty aggressive fall and a pretty quick fall as well, like very, very harsh in my opinion. However, if we do come up here and we somehow actually break through this level and go above 215 to 210, that to me potentially triggers this inverted head and shoulders, and I think that's where Tesla can actually have a potential leg up from then moving forward. So I think this right here is much less likely, but it is something that you can't just completely ignore either, assuming we, you know, get it to a situation that has a potential of playing that out. So that's kind of the overall thing I'm looking at right now, ladies and gentlemen. That's my general thought process as of right now, and how I am personally looking at things. You know, hopefully that does help you guys. Hopefully that gives you a lot of information for the short term, medium term, and even a little bit of a longer term as well. And yeah, oops, I just deleted something I didn't want to delete. So I'm gonna go ahead and remove these for now. You know, and taking a quick look at the VIX, you can see it's just constantly getting rejected still. So it's kind of limboing to the side over here. So, you know, whatever that ends up kind of meaning for the markets. The SPY, you know, definitely falling pretty aggressively, but bouncing where it needed to as well, also on this red line right here. So that's, you know, pretty good for SPY, you know, definitely bouncing where it needs to as well. So the market, it doesn't look impossible for it to get a little bit of a rip, you know, up one more time. It doesn't look absolutely impossible, which can be what makes Tesla to, at the very least, come back up to 200 one more time. And then from there, we'll, of course, revisit it and see if it has the strength to blast through that 200 level and go up to like maybe 210 and 215. So that's it. Thanks for watching, guys. And let me know what you think down below. Hope you guys have a great weekend. And yeah, I'll see you on Monday as per usual. So until then, thank you all so much for watching. And yeah, peace.